Welcome to the Life You're Made For with me, Dr. Heather Penny. We're going to be having conversations that talk about us spiraling up versus spiraling down, because we all want to be living lives that are about thriving, not just surviving. This is the life you're made for. So let's get going. Hello, Vanessa. It's so fun to have you on my show today. Thanks for jumping in.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah.
To be here.
Well, I wanted to talk with you after, and I don't think I've ever done this, but I was so taken by you coming up to me after the conference. And I said, will you be on my podcast show? Because I loved some of your takeaways that you got from the 3C Living and Leading Conference. But more importantly, I loved your initiative and your spirit. So before we jump into all of that, why don't you tell a little bit of our listeners of who you are and what you do?
So my name is Vanessa. I work for a foster family agency. I am a new director of social work within our agency. So I help supervise a lot of our supervisors that are helping the social workers who are going into the homes with our foster families and working with the youth to kind of get them reunited with their biological families. And so I provide a lot of the trainings, a lot of the support, community outreach, and kind of also growing and expanding our programs.
Oh my goodness. Well, this is why I did this conference pro bono with the Alliance, because I was so impressed of all these people and what they were doing on the front lines, and particularly for our most vulnerable, our children and our adults trying to help our children. I just loved all those resources. And I always say you guys are the unsung heroes out there. So whenever I can highlight whatever you're doing and also just invest in just the bravery and the courage you are, because I know the stories you're having to see every day. And I know that can be really hard and rough.
Yeah, it definitely is. And it's great to have the opportunities to attend these conferences because it's refreshing and it's like always learning something new to implement to kind of, recreate that spark on why we're doing things and just get refilled essentially to keep going.
Awesome. Well, let me give a little context of how Vanessa and I got to meet. I did a 3C Living and Leading conference, and it was off my book, The Life You're Made For, but it's also off all the work that I've done with leaders. And I believe leadership comes from within. So I wanted to create a unique leadership conference, not one where you're sitting there taking notes and having the 5 tips and techniques of how to be a better leader, where you're already feeling like you can't do enough. I wanted it to be a refreshing connection with your sense of self and really other leaders in the room. And I think we had, about 100 other leaders in the room. And it was just so powerful because they were all doing such great things. It was zeroed in on working with our most vulnerable. And so I think one of the things that I wanted are just all the leaders in those rooms to feel like is that they got to access their own clarity. They got to engage their own courage and really build their own confidence. So I think I want to jump in there, and I want to ask you first, and this is what made me laugh when you shared this with me. What made you want to go to this conference?
Being a new leader and director in our organization, I really wanted to learn and develop these skills to kind of implement for my new team. And so I kept asking my leader, I was like, can I go to this conference? Can I go? And I was like, if I don't hear back, I'm going to take the day off and I'm going to go anyway. Because I really wanted to grow and build these new skills for my job to be successful and help the staff that I was helping grow and develop as well, to have good, healthy boundaries in place and be successful in this field.
Awesome. We might even get a little coaching in here, Vanessa. So you might bring something to the table. I'll be happy to jump in and chime in on some ideas.
Awesome. I love it.
Well, let's start there. What were some of the takeaways from that time?
I really took in and absorbed when you shared being able to take some of those times away that it's not just work, work, work and cram all of this in when you know that you need to take a break or that you are needing to kind of refresh your mind, taking that time to either draw or listen or write, to really take that time for yourself will help you kind of recenter. And it kind of fills your cup again. It doesn't, it's not just, what society puts in place where it's like you work, 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 and then you go home and you continue to work, 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 work. You need that time to rejuvenate and remember why you got into this. What was your purpose? Where are you in your goals? And you don't have to necessarily give up taking that time and sticking your feet in the grass and walking and enjoying life just to work all the time.
Yeah. I think that I love how you phrase that, because I think in North America, we have it's going to feel counterculture to do exactly what you just said. And it's exactly why I do what I do. I think I saw the burnout rate, and it's still increasing. With all of these amazing human beings. I started out with education. So the burnout rate of educators, of psychologists, of counselors, of social workers, of nonprofit people. Oh my goodness. These are some of our most engaging humans that want to give back to society, and they're burning out. I think that's where I started pivoting on so much of my research and working with people, and even leaders of Fortune 500 companies. It doesn't have to be just human services. It's these leaders who are passionate. They care about what they're doing. They care about their people. Their burnout rate was so high. And so as I began to work with leaders, I was saying, we've got to start figuring out how to refuel, because what's happening is they're engaging with this kind of pervasive voice in society that says, do more, be more, and you're never quite enough. Speak to a little bit about that. I see your head nodding here.
Yeah, I know what that feels like. Before I got moved up to social work director, I was a social worker. So I was out in the field. I had a high caseload, and most of these cases were really tough. And so seeing all of what these clients were going through and the day-to-day tasks, and then, kind of like you said, I'm driven. I want to be able to help. And I have this huge heart who's like, I want to help this person. If I can make a difference in this client's life, then I'm going to make a difference in the other client's life. And I just always want to do more. But then you don't realize like the after effects of doing that for so long, that it really wears you down, and it's very emotional. You have a mental toll that takes on. There's a lot of things that you don't realize when you're like, I can add another client because I can fit them in between this time and this time. And, I have a case that's over here. And so we're always wanting to add. And I've been in this field for about 6 years already, a little over 6 years. And I see the burnout now as a leader, like I'm seeing it, and I hear it every week when I'm doing my supervisions with my team and I'm interacting with the social workers in the office. It's a high burnout because we all want to go and do more, and we are not taking the time to implement the breaks in our schedule, the time to say like, hey, that was really heavy, and acknowledge it and book the next client a little bit later so that you have that time to debrief and kind of refill your own self, your own cup, and really make sure that you're in a good spot. So when you go to help the next person, you're not bringing, for lack of better terms, like that baggage along with you. And in this field and social work, that's not something that is practiced. I mean, there's a joke that you bring your lunch and you're eating it in the car, walking up to the client's house. There's never a break, and there's no time to stop. Like you don't even have time to go to the bathroom. And so when I hear that, I'm like, we got to stop this cycle. You have to fill yourself up, and we need to be able to do something that's manageable, something that you can, you're putting your heart and your effort into, and you're really focusing to the success of each client. But then you're also taking that time to realize, Like I got to take care of myself, mentally and emotionally, so that I can be present for the next person. And so I really learned that and was able to absorb some of these tools to kind of reiterate that in my own team and implement that going forward so that we don't have this high burnout, right? And that people are feeling supported and our clients are reaching their goals a little more because they have that person that's focused with them and is not worn out and thinking of the other 50 things that happened prior.
Oh, so well said. You got all the takeaways I was hoping you would get from that.
Yes.
And here's what I want to say to all my high achievers out there too, listening, and my good-hearted leaders is we actually need to do less in order to do more. And I think that's the voice that we're not hearing enough of. We're hearing, stay on that hamster wheel, push, 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 push. And if you did 5 things today, do 6 things tomorrow. And if you did 6 things tomorrow, do 20 things the next day. I mean, the way we push ourselves and we reduce those margins in our life. We reduce even just the conversations around, hey, hang on a minute. How are you doing? You used to carry a client load of 5, and I noticed you're carrying 20. What's the toll of this on your heart, on your soul? We don't even have those conversations in the workspace. And being able to kind of shift that paradigm. And I'm seeing it over with attorneys and CEOs and presidents. It doesn't even have to be just these serving humanity kind of organizations. I'm seeing these people just push themselves where they are not getting what they need to refuel. So I guess I want to get practical here and ask you, what are some things that you're doing to refuel? Maybe you took it away from the conference, or maybe you built on some things that I offered and used your own clarity to give yourself what you needed.
Yeah. So I do a mixture of things. I go home most of the time after work, and I have a 5-year-old. So we sit at the dinner table and we will color, and I'll just draw, like just mindlessly draw things. It doesn't have to be anything that, like, I'm not going to go try and draw something elaborate and become this artist. But I'll take the time to just draw and just doodle whatever it is with him. I take the time in the morning to write kind of how I'm feeling, just journal what's going on, and really allow myself that time for me and not think about all of the other things that are going to happen, because I know the moment I sit in that office, it's all going to come at me.
Yes.
And so really just sticking to making the time in my schedule, like this is what I need, to, like, just for myself. If I notice that, like, okay, I have a jam-packed schedule, I'm going to go ahead and block this time off on my schedule. I'm going to turn my phone on silent, and then I'm going to focus on myself, whether that is listening to music, just reading something, writing how I'm feeling in that moment. If I, need some time to be a creative writer, and really just recentering so that I can, get back into my day and start where I left off, and still be successful and not feel the stress from the morning or the meetings prior, kind of slipping into the next item.
I love it. What are some flags that you notice, Vanessa, that's telling you you've got to pull back and refuel or give yourself some space?
I think it's my natural response to things. Like if someone says something to me and I'm like, and I'm realizing that, like, my heart is beating a little faster. I'm feeling, I don't know how to explain, like, so something inside me is like, you're kind of getting to a uncomfortable level. Like you need to take a step away. I am recognizing that because sometimes, I interact with a lot of different individuals in the office, even outside in the community. And so when I realize that, like, my blood level is kind of going up, I'm getting warm, I'm getting a little antsy inside.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
I am like, okay, I need a moment to breathe. If I don't want to, like, snap at somebody or, the inflexing your voice, that's like, hey, you're having a moment. I'm recognizing that. I'm very self-aware. And so when I have those thoughts kind of going in my head where I, like, want to be a little snarky, or I'm just like, yeah, I got a lot going on, we all
Pick
have
up the
those,
pace, man.
yeah,
Join
we
me.
have those communications in our head.
Yes, of
We have
course. I
those
have those too.
conversations.
I get it.
I'm like, you need a break, and
Yeah.
go outside, get some fresh
Hmm.
air, go for a walk. I need to like close the door for about 5 minutes or however long it is, and
Hmm.
just reset myself and then continue.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so I am going to jump into a little coaching right now, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
Vanessa.
No, I'm open
Because
to it.
it's what I would do with that all my other clients, and so listeners, you can kind of join in too, because put yourself in Vanessa's seat. I think it'll help you. One of the things that as we start beginning to understand, I love what you're saying of those flags. It's the body. You're listening to the body. You're listening to kind of your spirit and your mind. You're noticing all of that stuff. I love all that. And then you're starting to create some daily practices to pull back. It sounds like you've got those down pretty well, where it's either 15 minutes to an hour, but it's just something you're pulling back. That's what we call the dailies. I'd like to talk about the weeklies, and that's something where you give yourself 2 to 4 hours. And then the monthly, which is like half a day, and then the annual is like an overnighter. So
All
can we
right.
jump into that? Because I'm hearing the
Yes.
weeklies. Let's talk a little about monthlies. What do you do, or what could you do to jump into more of a monthly, monthly feel of like either a half a day of refueling?
It's a good question. I actually don't know, because I don't think I'm implementing that currently.
Okay, see, and thank you for your honesty. I don't mean to be putting you on the spot, but I totally am putting you on the spot, so I appreciate it. One of the things I like to do is I coach people to that next level of, once you start sinking into, oh my gosh, this is making me a better human, and I love this, and I remember why I love my job, and I remember why I love these people, and I remember why I love my kids. That means you're already doing a great job with the dailies. If you want to take it the next level, you want to start jumping into a monthly routine. And that's like at least 2 to 4 hours or half a day. So I'm going to push you a little bit more on this. Vanessa, what would be something that would be fun for you to just help you kind of refuel as you step into, if you had like 4 hours to yourself once a month, what would that look like for you?
Probably just reading some books, and maybe going to lunch with a friend. I can say I don't really get that opportunity a lot. I have 2 children and then a full-time job. And so, the weekends and stuff, I spend a lot of that time with my children and the sports they're doing, and really trying to create those memories with them, because time goes by so fast. And so socializing isn't always an option for me. So if I had that opportunity, I would totally take the time to like read a couple chapters out of a book, and maybe go grab some lunch or something with a friend.
You nail it. It sounds very similar to something I would do. It's sometimes even like just taking a book and sitting in the park. I remember that with young kids, and then going, when was the last time I actually connected with my buddy, my friend? It has been so about the kids. And so that's why I'm kind of going after this. Before you know it, a whole 8 months could go by before you actually do that for yourself. So then our dailies gets a lot of strain. We're putting a lot of strain on our dailies, but I want to say, give yourself a little bit of that boost of just putting it on the calendar and going, like I said, for where you're at in life, it may be all you get is 2 hours. I get it. But if you can give yourself 2 to 4 hours, even up to a half a day, once a month, where it's just me time, you'll also start feeling that refueling that goes above, just a little above empty. And you start getting that tank up a little higher.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely look into that. Book that in my schedule this
month. Yes. And then the weeklies could be just like a full hour or two to yourself as well. So you're pulling away, making sure what it is that you're doing just for you. And then of course, annually, and I just got back from an annual, what I call annual me retreat. And this is the one that's the hardest for me to actually go pull away for like 3 days. I'm not going to lie to you. I let a couple years slip before I can feel my dailies and my weeklies and my monthlies are starting to feel too strained. So I think making yourself do that. And I could feel it. I was irritated at everybody. And here's the thing. Nothing bad is happening in my life. Everything good is happening in my life, but nobody was doing anything right for me and with me. And I could feel like, okay, my dailies are going pretty well. My weeklies are going pretty well. My monthlies, okay, I'm way overdue for an annual me retreat. So I literally just booked it, went over to the coast, got this great little B&B just for 3 days and hung out by the beach. In fact, it's on my Instagram. People have been liking it. And I go, yep, I understand. Most people, when I do these conferences and talk about me retreats, I had one woman raise her hand going, am I allowed to do that? And we all laugh because we're like, I know, we feel like we're not allowed to do that. And I've done it when I've had resources and I've done it when I haven't had resources. So I never want it to be like money stops you from doing it.
Yeah.
It's a way to get creative. I remember having it with young toddlers and just either syncing it up with my hub to watch them or with a friend where we would swap me retreat weekends or something where you're able to get away for at least an overnighter, if not two. So as I say that, what's hitting you?
I'm like, when am I planning the next girls trip? when am I gonna put that in? Where, let's look at the calendar. Because it is true, like just kind of like you shared, that it's not that someone's doing something wrong. It's just people are, aggravating you a little and you're like, what is going on? Right. And so really being able to give ourselves the permission to. And I think that's the hard part, is because as a mom, you're like, well, I got to get permission for so-and-so and I got to get this done. And, we're always on the go. We're always thinking of all the mom duties we have going on. And so giving ourselves the permission to, this is what's going to happen. I need this for myself. Telling the husband like, hey, you're going to have to take care of all of these things while I'm gone. It's going to be okay. Yeah. I think it's just giving ourselves the permission and going ahead and allowing, like you said, even if it's just, the 24 hours, or I could give myself 3 days, give myself the 3 days, and allowing to just kind of disconnect and focus on myself and love myself for once, not focused on everybody else's needs. And I feel like that's something that I do a lot, is I'm always focused on everyone else. So I forget about myself sometimes. And that's when. Yeah. Well, and that's why I'm bringing it up, because I see a lot of myself in you, and I'm sure a lot of my listeners are seeing it too. We take these amazing jobs, and we care about our people. We have 1, 2 kids. We're in a marriage that we're committed to. We don't realize that alone takes up a tremendous amount of mental and emotional and spiritual energy. And so what happens then, these things that we naturally did, maybe when we were single or before kids, they no longer happen naturally. And then we're wondering why we're so fried. And it's a gentle reminder that you got to be a little more intentional. You just got to schedule it, because we're not getting rid of those kids and we want to stay in this marriage and we love our jobs, right? So these are all things like we're not willing to let those go. Yeah. But we've got to get a little bit more creative, or as one of my friends says, Heather, you just got to get scrappy. We got to get scrappy here, and just recognize. And I have another friend who's got 4 kids, and she gets super scrappy of how she protects that me retreat time. And I've even had, even on my me retreat, it was so funny. I did feel this, like, it's almost a detox. I'm just going to warn everybody of that. I showed up at the hotel and I'm like, what do I do? I got 3 days. Oh my gosh, what do I do? The only rule is you can't do anything productive, right? It's everything that feels good. You're just kind of doing it. Well, I got a panic text from my friend a couple days later. She's like, Heather, I'm on my knee retreat and I'm totally panicking. I know. Settle down, lean into it, and just let yourself. And she's like, what am I supposed to do? I go, that's the very reason why you're on a knee retreat. And once you start really settling into it, it was like, I took a walk on the beach and I stared at everybody with their dogs. I mean, stuff I would never have time to do, found these seals and I was watching them. And then I decided to just meander over and eat something that I wanted to eat. And it's like, I can't remember the last time I did that. And my kids are even grown now, but we live in such a structure of, okay, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? And then there's also a little bit of this addictive high we get off it. We feel very needed and loved. And I tell women all the time, I'm like, the world is not going to fall apart if you leave. But we start buying into that, right? But we feel that way.
Yes. Yeah.
If I don't do this, it's going to fall apart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for stepping into that. Thanks for just kind of jumping into that conversation, because I wanted to see how you respond to that. And I think I want to just pivot over to this, the 3 C's in your life. how is it kind of transforming the way you think and live?
Um, I feel like when I went to the conference, I really just kind of absorbed a lot of what you shared, and really just tried to implement it. Remember, like, the reasons that I'm here, really trying to focus and absorb it, because I know that a lot of what you shared is like in North America, it's just go, go, go. It's we don't allow ourselves the permission to speak up for ourselves and say, like, hey, no, I can't do that right now, and push back a little. And it's not like you're gonna get fired or anything, but being able to spark those conversations and be real and reset a lot of that. I'm doing that in my own life, giving myself permission. I hadn't taken a vacation in quite some time. And so I allowed myself to take a week off recently to just disconnect. And usually I'm like on my phone and I'm checking my work email, even if it's just like a part day or whichever. So really like turning it off, making sure that the team has everything they have in place, giving myself the permission to speak up, and allowing my team to feel like it's okay to implement these tools in their schedule, to speak up and advocate for themselves, to really take care of who they are inside. I feel like those were the things, at least in our organization and just the field that we work in, is we didn't have that before. And so learning the leadership tools that you preached at the 3 C's, it really opened up our organization to do better and to implement those, not only in the organization, but to teach our people to really take that home and practice that. And that's something I've added into our supervision forms that we do every week. And I'm asking, what did you do for yourself? How are you implementing this weekly? What does this look like monthly for you? And really challenging them to be okay in the uncomfortable feel, because it is uncomfortable at first.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. Didn't you feel a little uncomfortable when I started pressing you about the monthly?
I'm like, oh
shoot, she's getting real.
Like, what does that look like? We currently don't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's okay to admit those things too. And that, like, I don't feel like we kind of talked about that in the leadership conference, but admitting to myself, like, hey, I'm not doing that. It's okay. But what am I going to do differently the next time around? And how am I going to change that? And really just giving ourselves the permission to listen to ourselves, the voice in our head, our spirits, like really listening to that and speaking up and changing that, because at the end of the day, we're what we got, right?
Yeah.
And we're the ones feeding out all this energy and taking care of. It's our personal lives, our professional lives, our goals going forward, and just really focusing on listening to ourselves and giving ourselves the permission, but being able to like allow ourselves to fall in love with ourselves again, and the reason why we got here. I always think of the bracelets.
Yes.
Because I feel like that was one of the things that really like stood in my head after, like, it stood out for me. And I was just like, I like the bracelets, but it's okay to kind of change them out here and there, and they're gonna look different, and it's okay. I'm not going to let somebody else down, because at the end of the day, I got to do what's best for me in order to keep living and being successful in my life without burning out and kind of being a miserable person to kind of be around,
Right. I love how you say that, changing the bracelets out. And of course, for my listeners, most of you know the allegory of the bracelet, but I'll briefly mention it for those of you who might be new to you. It's this little girl who gets given a bracelet in her life, and she loves it, but then she gets more and more as she's growing older, and it prevents her from going on her tire swing, which she loves, and spending time under the stars, because the bracelets are going all the way up to her shoulders. And one of the challenges for this allegory, and this is why I use it, is bracelets are neither good or bad. Our children are bracelets, our marriages are bracelets, our friendships are bracelets, our jobs are bracelets, and we chose them. That's adulting. Welcome to adulthood, right? We got to manage bracelets. One of the things that we don't recognize is our empowerment to change them out, to take them off, to set them aside, to maybe never put one back on, to put one back on after me retreat. I'm telling you, that freedom of taking off all the bracelets and going off on a me retreat. When's the last time I've ever done that? We live with these bracelets on and we love them and we've chosen them and we're going to own them. And at some point we need to stop and reevaluate. And as we kind of pull away on these dailies and these weeklies and these monthlies and these annuals, what it does is give us clarity on those bracelets. Every time I come back, I don't necessarily have a lot of clarity on my me retreats. I just feel like I'm exhaling the whole time. Like, oh, this feels so good. It's the clarity that starts permeating and building over the next several months because I took that breather and I'm asking better questions. And sure enough, I came back and I'm like, yep, I'm going to say no to 3 different opportunities. And that's the biggest challenge. They're good opportunities. They're not bad ones. They're ones I want to say yes to, but I can't because if I do that, I won't be able to go on my tire swing anymore. And so as I'm saying no to some of these opportunities, I'm saying, well, what do I really want to do? And I literally was thinking about that. And I thought, I got asked to speak and do some of these different small groups. And I thought, oh, I love it. But why am I so conflicted about it? Why am I getting the sweaty palms? As you mentioned earlier, for me, it's the churning in my gut. And I realized the timing isn't right for me to do it, 1. And 2, I don't really want to do it for this organization. It's something I've always wanted to do on my own. So I called a friend a couple of days ago. I said, hey, this is something I want to do. Are you interested? She goes, I've been waiting for you to ask. She told me yes, right there in the moment. I go, awesome. We'll talk about it when you get back, because she was on her bee retreat. So I think, as we surround ourselves with people who hold these values, I love that you're doing this in leadership. And one of the things that you get to tell your people is you get to ask me about what I call my Thrive Plan. And those 4 areas, the daily, the weekly, the monthly, and the annual, those are what I call the Thrive Plan. As I work with clients and I work with leaders, I encourage them, hold your own Thrive Plan and help your people hold their Thrive Plan. And all of that's in my book, if any guys want any more information on that. But I think as you step into that, what a beautiful gift you're giving your people, Vanessa. And at the same hand, we cannot give them what we are ourselves not modeling. And I say this to all my amazing leaders, because they're all like, darn it, she called me out. I'm like, yeah, because you have such a good heart. It comes from a great place. But if we're not doing it for ourselves, there's no way we can really do it for our people. So I love that you're offering that to them, and it's shifting kind of the conversations of the organization. And more importantly, as we talk so much about these reviews and performance reviews, the fact that you are integrating that in those reviews, those conversations, wow, the results you will see, because you're working with humans, not robots, right? They're all trying to manage their own bracelets. And to have a leader that cares, that says, I care about your bracelets, I promise you, I've seen this over and over again. The results in the organization goes up. Instead of saying, here's 5 more bracelets, you better manage them. No human can sustain that. So I'm speaking just to the practical side of the bottom line and the ROI. You will get results if you slow it down and you give your people the opportunity to ask better questions. How are you refueling? Before you take on these next 5 clients, I want to talk to you about how you're refueling. And when's the last time you've done that? And how are you putting boundaries around your work?
Giving yourself the permission to do that.
Yes, exactly. Which is why I start my book out with a permission slip. Chapter 1 is you write yourself a permission slip to rest.
Yeah. And, I learned all of this from that conference, because that wasn't something that, even as a child growing up and the different jobs that I had as a young teenager, that wasn't anything that was ever taught or something that I was able to observe. It was just like, you got to get this done and you have to do this. And it's the to-do list, right? That just keeps adding. And never feeling like you had that opportunity. And I feel like that's something that we maybe kind of put ourselves, like the pressure we put on ourselves, because we always want to do better and we want to grow and aspire to do all these things. But it's okay to reach those goals and have something to aspire to, but still be able to give yourself permission to
Mm-hmm.
breathe and to say no, not right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those opportunities will come up, but I feel like it's the healthy boundaries that have
Mm-hmm.
kind of been blurred over the years. And
Mm-hmm.
so I learned to accept that it's okay
Mm-hmm.
to say no, and it's
Mm-hmm.
okay to put these boundaries in place and still be successful and get what you need to get done and
Mm-hmm.
grow. And it's better for, like, I've seen a change in my own team
Mm-hmm.
in just the last few months of like being able to implement that. And I check in with them and I'm like, so how is this going? How
Mm-hmm.
are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Where is your me time? What are you
Mm-hmm.
doing for yourself?
Mm-hmm.
You know, even if it's just in the office where, you know, you got to take
Mm-hmm.
that time for yourself because you had something heavy happen. Like, where
Mm-hmm.
is that? And really challenging them to do that. Like, I learned those skills from this conference. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited and happy that I had the opportunity to go. And the books that I received to be able to read and implement that. And it's great because I'll go back a couple chapters and reread so
Yeah.
that I can learn something new that I may have overlooked and didn't find that it was important at that moment in time in my life. But just really, it's helped me grow
Mm.
tremendously in the last, you know, 3 months or so since I've gone to the conference and really been able to implement that in my life and my work.
Mm. That's so exciting. It's so exciting because I think that we're going to start seeing a shift in the way leaders think if we start implementing this. And I'll let you in on a secret. I'm going to go ahead and do another one, but this one I'm going to be opening it up beyond just the alliance and moving it out to just the community of whoever would like to attend, because I wanted to pilot it first and see how it went. And it was so successful that I'm like, I'm ready for more. And I want to see the leaders all get in the room that believe that there's a better way to do this. They're the ones that we want to go after because they are going to be going after their people and giving them what they need. And they're going to be empowering them to live with more clarity, confidence, and courage. And I truly believe every person holds it within them. We just do a lot of things that distract it, oppress it, irritate it, frustrate it, and we just don't let the clarity and the confidence and courage breathe. And there's ways to do that we can actually cultivate it. And that's a pretty significant paradigm shift in North America to start recognizing that we each hold that within us. And it's also really what I believe is our responsibility as leaders to help our people engage that as well. So as we mentor them in that, we're also modeling that as well and showing them, hey, I don't even pretend to have this all together, but I have to do this too in order to make sure that I still love coming to work every day.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, Vanessa, it's been such a privilege. Thanks for sharing. What I would love to do is as we wrap up, I always ask this question. And it's something that I've learned as I've worked with leaders all over the world and individuals just working hard to live their best life. I realize they have morning rituals. So I don't even ask what anymore, or if they're doing it. What I do is step right into that and say, what are some of your morning rituals?
I get up about an hour or so prior to my kids getting up and ready. And so I'll take the time to go downstairs where it's semi-dark. I do love the dark.
Yes.
And I will journal for about 15, 20 minutes. And then I try and get my exercise in, whatever that routine looks like for the morning. And then I just allow myself to, you know, take that hot shower and then start my day.
Awesome. I love it. And does your morning rituals look different on the weekends?
Yes, I do sleep in a little bit more. I don't get up super
Awesome.
early.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
But yeah, you know, I don't really plan anything significant, and I just take that time to really absorb my family. And if I have, you know, that 15, 20 minutes, whether I absorb the family first and then go and take that time to myself, I'll go and do that. Whether that's like just listening to music and lying down, really just taking the time to listen to myself and be able to take that time 15, 20 minutes throughout the day to write or to get inspired about something, read something that's inspirational, to kind of help refill who I am for that day and continue to be motivated.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, here's what I'm going to ask of you. When you plan, it sounds like you got your dailies and your weeklies probably pretty good. When you get your monthly and your annual done, or you're doing it, send me a picture of it on my text thread.
I will.
Just so I can celebrate with you. That's one of my favorite things. I get them from all over the world and I get the funniest things. So I always say, that's what I love seeing come across my text thread. So I could just cheer you on to just go find that tire swing and make sure you're creating that Thrive plan for you.
Definitely, I will. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here and thanks for joining us. And we are both cheering you on, everybody that's listening. And we believe that you hold your own clarity, your own confidence, and your own courage. And we want to see you go after that. Take care.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us. We had such a great time today. And obviously, we are all stepping into this life that we're made for. But isn't it nice to have a little bit of support along the way? If you want to find out more about the life that you're made for, come find me at heatherpenny.com. Go ahead and subscribe. Give us a review. That really helps us out and helps spread the word. You get to step into the life that you're made for. Cheering you on.